Death to the compromiser. Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian was booed at Ali Khamenei's funeral, as hardliners turned a mourning procession into a street trial of their own head of state. Iran's regime is starting to look like it is turning on itself, with top leaders jeered in Tehran streets by factions furious over nuclear talks and any hint of compromise with the United States. A power tussle is erupting in the capital, and Pezeshkian is clearly on the hardliners' radar, caught between pressure to ease Iran's isolation and a conservative base that sees negotiation as betrayal. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian faced hostile chants during Ali Khamenei's funeral procession in Tehran, as some mourners turned the solemn march into a public rebuke of his policies. Videos filmed on July 7 showed hardliners shouting death to the compromiser at Pezeshkian, accusing him of being too willing to negotiate and make concessions to the United States. Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi was also jeered, with crowds chanting death to the traitor, signaling that anger extends to the entire diplomatic team associated with talks with Washington. The protesters openly opposed nuclear negotiations and any form of compromise with the US, using the funeral stage to demand a more confrontational, hardline stance. This public backlash comes as reports suggest deep rifts are emerging inside Iran's ruling conservative camp, with internal divisions sharpening over how to handle the war and diplomacy. A major New York Times report described a power struggle between pragmatists and hardliners, portraying the system as split between those who want tactical flexibility and those who reject concessions outright. Officials say both factions are vying for Mojtaba Khamenei's backing, hoping the late supreme leader's son will tip the balance in their favor and effectively anoint a preferred direction for Iran's future. At the same time, reports indicate that Revolutionary Guards generals have effectively run Iran since the war began, consolidating control over security, strategy, and key economic levers. Political circles are increasingly questioning Mojtaba Khamenei's ability to lead the system, pointing to his limited public presence and uncertainty about whether he can assert authority over powerful military figures. Pezeshkian reportedly threatened to resign when Mojtaba hesitated over endorsing a memorandum of understanding with the United States, highlighting how tense and high-stakes the internal debate over the deal has become. The president warned that the US naval blockade was paralyzing Iran's economy, arguing that without some agreement, the country's financial and trade lifelines would continue to suffocate. Mojtaba is said to have replied that he would back the deal only if the Supreme National Security Council approved it, shifting the decision onto a formal collective body rather than taking sole responsibility. Pezeshkian ultimately moved ahead with the agreement only after receiving the council's green light, ensuring that the step had institutional cover and was not seen as a personal gamble taken in isolation. US allies are once again in the crosshairs as what looks like Phase 2 of the Iran war erupts, dragging Jordan, Bahrain, and Kuwait deeper into the line of fire. The IRGC is raining missiles and drones on America's regional partners while US forces answer with more than 170 strikes on Iranian air defenses, bases, and logistics hubs in a bid to blunt Tehran's reach. From bridges to bases, Trump appears determined to deliver on his promise to hit Iran hard, expanding the target set from frontline launch sites to strategic infrastructure deep inside the country. Mojtaba's commanders are making Washington regret its escalation, as Jordan's Muafafak Salti Air Base becomes the latest high-profile target, turning American allies in the region into active battlefields. US and Iran traded fresh strikes on July 9th, with the conflict continuing to escalate for a third straight day as both sides answered each other's attacks with new barrages. Iran launched missiles toward US allies Jordan, Bahrain, and Kuwait after American bombardments, widening the battlefield and directly threatening Washington's regional partners. Jordan said it intercepted 8 Iranian ballistic missiles that entered its airspace, showcasing its air defense systems and underlining how close the kingdom came to suffering direct hits. Air raid sirens sounded across Jordan for the first time in months during the attack, sending residents into shelters and reminding the public how quickly regional tensions can spill over their borders. According to Iranian media, the missiles targeted US bases in Kuwait and Jordan's Muafafak Salti Air Base, signaling Tehran's intent to hit American forces wherever they are stationed in the neighborhood. Iran also reportedly targeted Kuwait's port area during the latest missile barrage, raising fears for the security of vital Gulf logistics hubs and energy infrastructure. Claims emerged of an Iranian attack on a US warship in the Gulf, but these reports remain unconfirmed, adding a layer of uncertainty and potential alarm over maritime escalation. Meanwhile, the US said it has struck more than 170 Iranian military targets in 2 days, pointing to a sweeping campaign aimed at degrading Tehran's warfighting capabilities. Washington stated that air defense systems, missile sites, drone depots, and naval assets were hit, indicating a focus on dismantling Iran's ability to launch further strikes by air and sea. For the first time since April, U.S. forces also targeted Iran's strategic bridges, suggesting a move to disrupt internal movement and logistics inside the country. Iran said a key rail link used for trade with Russia and China was hit by cruise missiles, highlighting the economic and geopolitical cost of the strikes beyond purely military damage. Those strikes halted rail traffic to Mashhad, the city where Khamenei's funeral ceremonies are taking place, intertwining the military campaign with a highly symbolic moment of national mourning. Tehran vowed to keep fighting until it thwarts what it called U.S. strategic objectives, signaling that it sees the current confrontation as an existential struggle rather than a short-term flare-up. Israel said it does not expect the latest U.S.-Iran escalation to spill into its territory, according to reports, suggesting that for now, Jerusalem believes the exchanges will remain contained to other fronts. Trump ditched the new Air Force One mid-journey amid a security scare, opting to leave Turkey on the older presidential jet instead of the recently retrofitted Qatari-gifted aircraft. Donald Trump said he remains Iran's #1 target, while speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One during his return flight from the NATO summit. The remarks came after reporters were instructed to close the aircraft's window blinds, prompting questions about whether additional security precautions were being taken. When asked about the unusual request, Trump replied they were on a dangerous flight because of what he described as continuing threats from Iran.
They wanted to see, so they came a little bit early and we switched planes.
So you're saying there wasn't a security concern?
No.
And
Why
was
would
there
they?
any other issue? No issue?
No, except we sent it a little early. Same line, going back. We sent it a little bit early so that we could let them see it. The whole base came out and saw the plane, and then we landed.
Do you know why they had us close our window blinds? That was not usual.
Well, yeah, because you're, probably on a dangerous flight because of the sleaze bags that we have to deal with.
So you think that Iran was possibly thinking of targeting?
Well, I mean, if they asked you to close your windows, probably they feel that way. They didn't ask me to close mine, but if they did, I would have done it. These are sick people, so I could see something like that. I didn't know they did that, but I could see something like that.
Were you aware of any credible threat by Iran against Air Force
Well, I have
One?
a threat all the time. I'm #1 on their list before you. But if I go, you go, right?
But was there a
So
specific threat today?
perhaps someday you want to change professions. What do you have, Daniel?
CENTCOM posted that there are strikes ongoing in Iran, so
We just hit them very hard, and I say we hit them 20-1. Every time they hit us, we're going to hit them 20. And we did it last night. They did a little something today, but it was really retribution for last night. They hit actually 3 boats, not 2. And when they hit, we hit back much harder.
Are we returning to a full-scale military conflict, sir?
I don't know. I don't know. We'd win it very quickly. It's another way of doing it. We have many ways we can win, but we've already won militarily. They have very little left, and they want to make a deal so badly.